Meeting secretly with sinister types? Much? Not too much. Much too much. Kinda hot in these rhinos.
It is hot, so hot here in Perth. We are going through a heat wave, consecutive days over 40 degrees, and nights with a minimum temperature of 25 degrees. Hot, very hot. It drains your energy, but I really wanted to get out a Tall Talk episode quick before the year got too much older, and to clarify a few statements and rants I made in the Indian PZ gameplay video this weekend just gone, as well as cover some interesting stuff that's been happening in game. I'm going to have to break it down into a couple of different episodes because I've left it so far between the last one that, well, plenty of things have happened and I've got a lot to catch up on. So let's start with Adrenaline and its inclusion in the game. You know by now I'm not a fan. I called it an example of shit game design in my last video. But a lot of you use it, and it is certainly a strong thing to take with you. It has definite advantages, and there are some good tactics you can employ with it. A lot of the guys I know run it. People like Bushka, they advocate using it to focus down and burn the most dangerous opponent on the enemy team. You know, you rush them with your platoon mate, whittle them down with the excellent DPM that you get from using Adrenaline, and then regrouping and playing the rest of the game out. You don't have any perks left, but the Reds are down their most valuable team member. Strong, definitely strong in those positions, and I can see why people use it. But I don't like it for a number of reasons. Some of them are selfish, and I think some are more valid for the game in general, for all users. For starters, it's open to abuse. Does a heavy tank armoured 300+mm heat round penetration T54 driver really need a 25% boost to his DPM when he's battling a tier 7 or a tier 8 medium? And don't tell me that doesn't happen. It happens all the time. T54 drivers have no morals and they buy all their wins. It's not necessary. I don't think it sends a good message to the player base, and I don't think it's fun for the general population of the game to allow that kind of advantage. But not only that, I think Adrenaline punishes the people who've taken the time to learn so much of how the game works. You learn reload speeds and DPMs and armor thicknesses, all this to a point where, if you're like me, you can pretty much predict the outcome of any one-on-one engagement, and you use this when you make a decision about whether or not to throw yourself into a particular situation. But to then have your skill negated by an OP random wildcard is an incredibly frustrating thing to be subjected to. It's almost as if Wargaming have gone with Blitz, well, we're not including artillery, how else can we best piss off players? I know, we'll put this in. And my third point of contention is, I recognise, completely selfish. It is that I believe I see this more often than anyone else. I get recognised in quite a few games these days. Not all of them by far, but enough to be statistically important. And players are a lot more, I think, likely to drop Adrenaline in a one-on-one with me. And for that reason alone, I think it should go. If you disagree with me, 2 points. 1, I don't care. And 2, Wargaming don't listen to my input anyway, so it's not going to change anything. But let's not end this on a low point. In what capacity could I bear to see Adrenaline left in Blitz? I think if it was a vehicle class specific trait, it would be more beneficial than allowing, say, already OP vehicles to then troll other players with it. I think no one's going to complain if something like a Churchill gun carrier or a lot of the slow British TDs drop Adrenaline in a purely defensive role. Some of these vehicles suck to the point where they really do need an advantage like this to do well in a game. But again, at the same time, you don't want to give campers sitting at the back unspotted any more advantage than they already have. In that regard, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So what else? How else could this be included in the game in a way that would keep Ruckus happy? Well, what if adrenaline or similar perks were open to anyone to use, but only popped up as an ability if certain parameters were met in a game? Say, adrenaline only became able to be used by anyone if, say, they were the last team member alive on the team and they were up against a minimum of 3 reds. So you find yourself in that situation and then adrenaline pops up as like a 4th consumable. It's kind of already exists. I think there is some crew skills that do a similar kind of thing, but not in any way the same kind of impact that having a 25% boost to your DPM would do to the outcome of the battle. So it would give the underdog a bit of a boost in their time of need, but at the same time, the Reds, if they were paying attention, would know that the solo enemy left has that option. And again, it's not a perfect idea, but the bottom line is I'd like to see it move away from its current use by anyone against anyone, as that leads to some clearly unfair situations. In the comments section of my Indian Panzer video, one Gene Goldhammer asked the question, is the Ruckus stat board relevant, as tanks.gg focuses solely on the World of Tanks PC game statistics, which is true. I just want to say that for my stat board, I always use the Blitz in-game statistics, and where possible the dev build that we get given each month, which is as current as it gets. The only stats I pull off tanks.gg are the gun elevation and depression, which I can't find anywhere else. I don't use any of the Blitz mobile armor apps, although perhaps I should. If you guys find some discrepancies, let me know. But generally, a lot of the things like armor stats, gun depression, in my experience, are the same when they get ported across from PC to Blitz. If we look here at the Type 62 Dragon, we can see here the Blitz stats on the left, the PC stats on the right. The big differences you'll note are in the hit points. You always see a difference in hit points when you port a tank across from PC to Blitz. View range isn't relevant because the maps on Blitz are so much smaller. You cannot compare PC to Blitz in that regard, but things like the armor scheme are generally always the same. You see the weight there is pretty much the same, powder weight, slight difference, probably just due to the vehicle setup in the comparison I used. And there are some changes to mobility and the gun handling characteristics. Being the highest tier light tank in the game to date, I was really interested to see how it would compare against PC and how it compares against the tier 7 mediums in the game already. We all know there isn't much a light tank can do that a medium tank can't do better in World of Tanks at the moment. So how does Wargaming intend on differentiating these vehicles from the mediums that are already in game? With this second board, we can see the Dragon stats on the left up against the tier 7 medium tank average on the right. That average does not include the Dragon stats. I'm just going to see what the biggest takeaway points are on this board. Just a brief look will show that the hit points are vastly reduced, but surprisingly the view range isn't vastly increased. I would have expected the light tank to have a lot more than the medium tanks to fulfill the traditional light tank scouting role, but it doesn't. It's bang on average. The armor is awful, as anyone who's played the Dragon already knows. It cannot take a hit from any angle, even the turret front. It's rounded, but it's only 45mm thick. It's not good armor at all. The weight is low, and so is the engine power, but that's okay because the weight is so low, meaning the mobility stats are all excellent, well above the medium tanks. And this is probably what they're going to do with the light tanks in the German line as they come in. You'll have no armor whatsoever, but they will be supremely mobile, shifting around at a huge rate of knots. What I don't have numbers for though is the camo coefficient, but I have heard that it is pretty crazy. Guys reporting that you don't get spotted if you're behind a bush until you get proxy spotted by the Reds, basically. So this is probably Wargaming's way of making up for that lack of increased view range over the medium tanks. With the high tier light tanks, you'll be able to get in close, but remain hidden, effectively giving you a better view range over the medium tanks. Now, in the last video, I also had a rant against Wargaming's habit of bundling their new tanks in with stuff like gold and premium time, driving up the price of the vehicle itself. And it would seem from the comments section that the vast amount of you were in agreement with me on this position, which isn't surprising. We all want to pay as little for stuff as possible, no big surprise there. Some of you said it's just the reality of the situation, that Wargaming is a company and it's out to make money, and I don't disagree with you at all. Paying for the content is how we grow and improve the game, and it's the reason why it's still being improved with regular patches to this date, 5 years or so after the original form of the game came out. I have paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars to Wargaming over the years, and I will continue to pay money to them. I'm quite happy to. It's a game that I enjoy playing most of the time, and I want to see it grow and get bigger and improve constantly. It's a hobby I've got, and you put money into your hobbies. What I don't like though is being forced to pay the money for it. The bundles may be the best value for gold and premium time that you can get, but if you don't want that gold and premium time, then it's not good value for anyone at all. It's just an expense that you feel forced to pay for, and that creates resentment and unhappiness amongst your subscribers or your player base. It does for me anyway. I just want the option to buy the vehicle by itself. You can still bundle them together, people will still buy that. I just want to make my own decision about how I spend my money. It may be that in 6 months' time the Dragon will be released for sale for gold in the garage, just like tanks like the Lerva or the AT-15A or the SU-100Y. If that's the case, well then I guess we just need to be more patient, and we will eventually get it for the price that we want. But it's by no means clear that this will ever happen. Things like the E25 were sold a long time ago as part of a bundle, and they haven't been seen since. I've got no doubt that I would have purchased the Dragon had it been sold by itself, but as it stands, Wargaming haven't made a cent out of me for this particular release. And perhaps they're happy with that. Maybe they've worked it out that this is the best way to maximize profits from their community. But personally, I would like to see players given the option to purchase things as they like. It doesn't seem that much to ask, really. And most of you seem to feel the same way. So if you do, maybe we should take to the forums, express our unhappiness, and perhaps we'll get a change out of them. It really doesn't seem like that much to ask. And that's all I'm going to talk about in this episode, guys. I'm going to leave it there, and I really need to get this finished and up for patch 2.6 drops. Sorry I didn't get any new content up, any preview content for that build. Wargaming Asia had some kind of drama with their dev build, and neither myself, Huge, or Bushka could get it to work on our devices, so no preview videos for you from us, but I'll try to get a video up talking about the changes to, say, Middleburg. My sniping positions on Middleburg, no! They've removed the hill, driving everyone into town. God damn it. And the German light tanks, how they are different from the medium tanks and what their stats look like. I'm going to try and get a video out as soon as possible on that. So until then, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you probably in patch 2.6. Peace.